Hi everyone, my name is Ben, and today I am going to be talking to you about the koi fish or Cyprinus spa. It is in the genus Cyprinus. There's been some debate about if the species should be Cyprinus carpio or Cyprinus rubrofucus. The book says Cyprinus carpio, a little bit more outdated, but that is what the book says, so we will be sticking to that. So, what actually is a koi? Well, they are Cyprinus carpio, they are carp. They are the same exact species. Koi are not a different species. There are not different species of koi. The different color variations, they are not different species. They are all one species, Cyprinus carpio. They are carp, which have been domesticated and selectively bred to be ornamental and decorative. So they are known as Nishiki goi or brocaded carp, which just means decorated or ornamental carp. Another translation for the name is living jewel, just because of how pretty and colorful they are. And few pondfish live longer than koi, interestingly enough. Their lifespan is going to be around 25 to 50 years, although we are going to take a look at one koi who will allegedly live more than 200 years a little bit later on. And in addition to living long, koi are also going to rank among largest of all pondfish, some individuals repeatedly reaching up to 6 feet in length, although typically up to 36 inches or 3 feet is going to be more typical. Koi are going to be more cold water fish, tolerating temperatures from 37 to 77 degrees Fahrenheit. Neutral pH in the water. They are pond fish, relatively social. They do not shoal. Diet varies. We'll talk about that a little later on. And now let's look into their origin. So, as far as the origin of koi, today's modern koi varieties are descendants of black carp or magoi, which were introduced to Japan from China around 1000 CE. In the 1600s, local rice farmers in Japan were catching them for food. In the 1800s, individual fish displaying patches of color and patterning on their bodies started to appear, and farmers began to selectively breed for these characteristics. So it was actually genetic mutations that gave rise to the unique characteristics and colorations that we know today. In 1914, koi were shown at the Taisho exhibition in Tokyo. Afterwards, they were transferred to the moat surrounding the emperor's imperial palace, and the descendants of those koi can still be found in that moat today. This graphic is straight from the book. It's just understanding koi nomenclature. I'm not going to go through all of this, but if you want to get more into koi breeding, koi collecting, or just learning more about the different varieties that there are over 100 varieties. The book covers just some of the main ones, the more popular ones. You can see there are so many different variations, everything from red, blue, white, even metallic, shiny, gold, platinum ones, crazy different variations, artificial selection. People have selected for all these traits. Anything you want a koi to look like, you can make it look like that. So the most popular varieties are going to be the Showa, Kawaku, and the Sanki. So these are all variations, red, white, maybe black. The earliest forerunners of modern koi, just simple red and white markings. These were going to be the earliest ones. These are the Kohaku, and today these are the most valuable still, these OGs. Showa koi have red and white markings on a black background. Sanki are similar, but they have red and black markings on a white background. Another variation is going to be the Tancho. Again, red, white, and black, popular colors, but just how crazy artificial selection is. You can make a fish look like the flag of Japan. And then their color and patterning on some varieties can change as they grow and develop, which is going to be especially true of the Matsukawabake koi. They have unstable black and white markings that can alter in response to changes in environmental conditions. And I also just think that they look pretty cool compared to some of the other ones, which are going to be um, prettier, girlier, more sparkly. These more of a Halloween spooky coloration, pretty. So most koi of Japanese origin command premium prices in international markets, which reflects not only the individual quality of each koi, but also the rigorous selection procedures that breeding stock must meet in their homeland. This just means that koi from Japan are going to be more expensive. And then something I thought was pretty interesting was that a single wild black carp with a golden stripe along its back was discovered in 1921, and a selective breeding program from this fish produced the first pure colored metallic koi 25 years later. So that is not that many generations for these fish. Pretty crazy to think that they went from an almost entirely black fish with a small golden stripe to a pure golden fish in just that short amount of time. How crazy they end up looking, even sparkling. You can see where that Living Jewel name came from for sure. So, we've talked about just how highly sought after some of these varieties are, especially ones from Japan, especially the original three varieties. So, I went online to see just how much a higher end koi fish is going to cost you today, and the results are pretty astounding. So, from one website, they have a Kohaku for $40,000. It is 36 inches from a Sakai breeder in Japan. So it makes sense how it is on the more expensive side. Again, it is that Kohaku red and white OG coloration that is the most valuable. And then um, we have the Showa for almost $25,000. We have the Ginrin for only $4,000. Ginrin just means that shiny scales. $4,000 almost seems like a bargain compared to some of these other ones. And then the most expensive one was already sold, but it was a 31-inch Ginrin Kohaku Koi, $75,000. So that red and white Kohaku coloration, but with the shiny scales, apparently made it even more valuable. So quite expensive, but not the most expensive koi ever sold. So the most expensive koi ever sold was back in 2018. It was a koi named S Legend. So a guy in Taiwan, he was a koi breeder. He bought this fish. She was 101 centimeters. She was Kohaku variety, so they're red and white, the most valuable. And as a female, she was even more valuable than a male because theoretically she had the possibility to produce tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of eggs, and if 1% of her eggs are going to be as valuable as she is with that same variety, coloring, specific pattern, if 1% of those eggs are as valuable as she is, theoretically, it could be a good investment, maybe, for $1.8 million. But the guy bought her in 2018 and she died in 2019, so I do not know if his investment paid off. Another famous or legendary koi is going to be Hanako, who was a crimson variety of koi in Japan, and she died on July 7th, 1977. What's interesting about her is that she was allegedly 226 years old. Supposedly, this was determined by cutting a small portion of her scale off and counting the rings, and somehow they arrived at that number. So, there are numerous articles online. Hanako even has her own Wikipedia page. But the veracity of this claim that she lived to be so old is definitely debated. Scientists don't necessarily think that that is the most accurate way of aging a fish, and it also does not really make sense. They report that she weighs something like 17 pounds, which when we've seen koi that are much younger, that are only maybe 20 years old, are going to weigh much more than she did, are going to be larger than she was. So everything that we've learned as zoology students, I personally don't think Hanako lived to be 226 years old, but maybe she did. Don't know. So, what is a koi pond gonna look like when you go to set it up? Koi originating in Japan and China, cold areas. They're going to be hardy enough to spend winters in outdoor ponds in all but the coldest climates. You're going to want well filtered water, few or no plants, and this is mainly because the whole point is to see the koi, their colorations, marvel at how pretty they are, so you don't want to obstruct them with plants. They could also eat the plants, which you may or may not want happening. Considerations: if you live in a hot area, you might want a screen to protect them from sunburn, provide shade, because the pale varieties can definitely get sunburned, unfortunately. Diet and feeding is going to be pretty interesting for these guys. Koi are going to eat both plant and animal matter, meaning that they're omnivores, and they're going to seek their food close to the bottom of the pond. They have two pairs of barbels on either side of the mouth, which serve as sensory feelers and help them locate edible items like worms hidden in the substrate. Koi are also able to dig quite effectively using their jaws. At the back of their throat are tooth-like structures that grind food before it is swallowed, making it more accessible to digestive enzymes. Koi do not have a stomach where food can be stored, and so they can only digest small amounts of food at a time. Instead, swallowed food passes directly to the intestinal tract, and nutrients are absorbed as the food passes through before exiting the body. In adult koi, the intestine is 2 or 3 times the length of the body, while young koi have much shorter intestines, and so they're going to require a higher protein content in their food to achieve the same levels of nutrition. So, what does that all mean? They're omnivores. You could feed them worms, you could feed them watermelon, but most likely you're going to be feeding them some form of pellet. Could be specifically developed for koi, like this premium pond fish food. Is probably what you're going to be doing. It's just simplest, most budget friendly. This is just a video of showing that a guy trained his koi to swim right up to him, get up his hand, so he is spoon feeding them in this video. It's pretty funny to look at. If it will work, which I don't know if it will. So koi and human care are not only in people's backyards and gardens, we actually have them in zoos as well. So some of the zoos where you can find koi include the Cheyenne Mountain Zoo here in Colorado Springs, as well as the Smithsonian Zoo, the San Diego Zoo, and many others. So here in Colorado Springs, the Cheyenne Mountain Zoo has 3 koi in their big backyard area. They are going to be named Mario, Luigi, and Princess Peach. Mario is this red or orange one. Luigi is this silvery green one, and then Princess Peach is this white one. The second image shows veterinarians at the San Diego Zoo performing an operation on this koi in their care. So this koi had a cancerous tumor that developed, and they had to anesthetize this fish, take it into surgery, and perform an operation on it. So high quality of care, which is important because these guys can live a long time and could develop medical problems. It's important that we are there for them if we're going to be their caretakers. So, if after everything you've learned today, you want to go out and own your own koi fish, you are free to do so in 49 out of the 50 U.S. states. But if you live in Maine, it is illegal to own koi fish. And the reason for that is because of the environmental impacts they would have if they were released. They would be an invasive species, they would wreak havoc on the waterways, cause a lot of damage to native species, so we really want to avoid that. There are a lot of instances of people's goldfish getting out in ponds, so we're trying to avoid stuff like that. Although why it is in the case for them to be illegal in Maine and not surrounding states, which have similar ecology, I do not know. Alright, that is everything. Thank you everyone for watching. If you have any questions about koi, just find me in class. Feel free to ask. And here are some of the sources for the images. And if you want to go buy your own koi for $40,000. Alright, thanks everyone.